What's history without a little scandalo? Greetings and salutations. This is your girl, Outspoken Diva, and let's have a talk about it, shall we? Okay. I'm not gonna say I scrapped all of my everything that I was gonna talk about in February. It's just gonna get pushed down to March. Because both of the people that I were going to talk about, commemorate, and celebrate, talk, are women. So they can go over to Women's History Month also. So no fret. But yeah, by the time when y'all see this, it will be February 28th. And I am purposely putting this one out because we're going to bridge the gap between Black History Month and Women History Month. If you don't know, Black History Month in the United States is in February. Women's History Month is the following month in the United States, and it's March. So yeah, let's bridge the gap and talk about Miss Nina Yolande Du Bois Collins Williams, affectionately known as Yolande. Okay, so the reason why we're talking about her is because I've saw talk about a book that is coming up by one of my favorite authors, Tiffany L. Warren, called A Harlem Wedding, that is due to be out soon. I've entered quite a few giveaways so I can get me a free copy of this book. If not, I will be buying the book. So yeah, it looks like this, and it discusses her Miss Yolande Dubois, well Nina Yolande Dubois Collins Williams, officially known as Yolande. That's what we call her, and it discusses her wedding. It's a fictional book, as in a fictional account, but these things did happen. It's a fictional account of things that happened, and the reason why I uh, wanted to talk about her is because this information, the story about her wedding and marriage, came across my lap a few years ago. About I think it was either 2022 or 2023, and everyone was talking about this as it pertained to the men in her life, but not from the vantage point of Yolande. And as we talk about Black women, and as we go into Women's History Month, and we always talk about the plight of women and their rights and things. Let's talk. I mean, we can't say that it's only seen through the eyes of one particular race, a mainstream race, as opposed to the umbrella of all the women. Okay, but and because there everybody, all women were subjugated to the laws and the unfairness of the land at some point in time before we all didn't have rights. Okay, and this is a woman who she's not a suffragist. She was a school teacher. But I feel like her life, her name, her life, and what she went through needs to be discussed as a reminder of how far we have come when it comes to women's rights. Okay. All right. So Yolande was born October October 1900. Okay, turn the century. Her father was the acclaimed W.E.B. Du Bois, the talented 10th guy. He wrote The Souls of Black People, and he was an anti bootstrapper. He was often an opponent of Booker T. Washington, because Booker T. Washington felt like you should just, all black people, just pull yourselves up by with your bootstraps and go on. He was like, no, he fought for the champions. He was a champion. He fought for the civil rights of us, for our people, black people. Okay, and his wife, Nina Dubois, um, She was not close with her father. Her father did a lot of traveling assignments and work and stuff. He because also he was the over the paper The Crisis. And she was often thought to be a aggressively precocious child, so they sent her to boarding schools. Okay. Um, in 1920, she starts attending Fisk University, and that is where she fell in love with a young man named Jimmy Lunsford. Jimmy Lunsford was a jazz saxophonist and band leader, and he was not good enough for her father. So, unbeknownst to her, her father had other plans. She graduated from Fisk, and she started teaching in Baltimore. And she was secretly still seeing Jimmy, and all the while, her father was arranging her to be married to the acclaimed poet of during the Harlem Renaissance time, Conti Cullen. hmm So she met Conti Conley, I mean Cullens, Cullens through his friend Harold Jackman, 1923, right? So so she just happens to meet him. They was introduced, okay. Um, but by 1927, Yolande breaks up with Mr. Lunsford, and she accepts a marriage proposal from Conti Conlins. That was the wintertime holiday season of 1927. On April 9th, 1928, uh, 3,000 black people witnessed the wedding, this grand wedding of Yolande and Conti. The wedding was planned by her father, W.E.B., and Conti. Courtney. How do we say it? County. We're going to say it's county. Okay. They had 16 bridesmaids and 9 groomsmen, and the best man was Mr. Jackman. Okay. Mr. Harold Jackman. They had a brief honeymoon, and Yolanda was miserable. Her father just said, "Oh, you just need some more experience." Okay, this is okay. By the summer, Cullen and Jackman traveled to Europe to study. They traveled, I think it's Paris, and to study. They had got fellowships and stuff. Um, in August, Yolande joined them. Okay, and you know it was kind of a rocky marriage. She was not happy in the marriage. He really wasn't that happy in the marriage. So WEB, he tried to counsel Cullens and say, you need to be, spend time with my child, with your wife. You need to do your husbandly duties, those kind of things. But by fall of 1928, now she just got married in April. It's now fall, right? Cullens admitted to Yolande that he was attracted to men. Now, there is no evidence, and it is said that it was not him and Harold Jackman had anything going on, but so there is no evidence that happened. So, but he was his literary partner. Okay, so immediately Yolande sent not call. She sent a letter to her father saying, okay, I'm getting a divorce. You need to. So now let's go back to the wedding. All the clues were there. Okay. Seemingly during the wedding, 3,000 people, right? A lot of Harlem Renaissance people were there. The Langston Hughes was in the wedding, and those things. And a lot of people knew it was a not so secret about who Cullen's preferred in the bedroom. And people were literally sniggling and giggling at this wedding that it is happening. But they are not really sniggling and giggling at the bride per se. They're sniggling and giggling at her father because they're getting over on daddy's money. You want to spend your wealth like this? Okay. But while you're thinking you're sniggling and giggling at this girl's father, no one wanted to, pull over to the side. No one wanted to mention it behind her back, or at least in her earshots. Okay. So, behind closed doors, of course, Yolanda is not a part of her own divorce. She has to go through her father, and the divorce proceedings and papers and stuff have to go through her father and her husband. They are not divorced until 1930 because WB is kind of dragging his feet, and he's kind of telling Cullens that yeah, give her a chance. I mean, she's just not physically, birds and bees experience. Give her a chance, all this kind of stuff. Of course, that doesn't happen. They get divorced in 1930 in Paris. So, now, before y'all go, oh, so that means Conti went and lived his life. Yeah, he did, but he goes on to marry another lady in 1940. So he doesn't go to live his life freely. He comes back to America. I don't know if that lady knew, who he preferred or anything of that nature. But because, that he doesn't have rights either, but he did benefit from being a man, and again, he's making decisions for this woman's life, as opposed to not being involved in this, right? Okay. Okay. Again, getting over on daddy's money. All right. All right. So Yolande, she goes back to teaching in Baltimore, and she meets another man, Arnett Williams, while she's teaching Baltimore Night School, and they get married in September of 1931, and then they have a child. Uh, her name is Yolande Du Bois Williams. She went by Du Bois Williams. And she's the only grandchild of W.E.B.D. Du Bois. Du Bois. But soon after her birth, Arnett Williams leaves to focus on football. So Yolande decides, and you always hear the tale of, when women go through heartbreak, they go and go get degrees and go buy houses, and they go take care of their self-care. Yolande goes to New York City, and she earns herself a master's degree from Columbia University, a dream school that she actually wanted to go to. She didn't want to go to Fisk originally. She wanted to go to Columbia, but because her father was an alumni of Fisk, he wanted her to go to Fisk. So yeah. And this was all in like 1931, 32, 33, 30. 1936, she finally is granted because, her father finally had to write a letter to Mr. Williams, and she is finally granted a divorce from Williams in 1936. Guys, I cannot express how crazy it is that this woman's life is determined by two men each time. So three men have her father, her husband, and her second husband, her first husband, her second husband, all decide to on this woman's life. She has no agency for herself. Her first marriage. Sorry about that. Um, I know y'all saw me hit applause, right? Okay. Anywho, this woman's agency. She never has agency for her own decisions because her first marriage is arranged to a man who doesn't even like women, who does not prefer the physical company of women. You know, birds and bees and bees, birds and birds. Company of women. And then to get out of this marriage, she had to call daddy. She had to go, well, I say call, she had to contact father and say, hey, I gotta get out this marriage. I don't know if she ever told him um about what was going on, but yeah. Then she calls her, thinks she's finding love, gets married to another man of her choosing, and to get out of that marriage, she goes on. This man leaves her, and she still has to go through her father to get another divorce. People always want to talk about, what our grandparents went through, what grandma stood with grandpa. No, they didn't. And then even when they did, who wants to have to go through their dad to get to find happiness in life? Who wants to have to go through their father? Some of them, grandma may not have had to stay with grandpa if her father, would play ball, would go on and help her get out of these marriages. Maybe she stayed in that marriage because her dad was like, no, I'm not doing that. You got to stay with your husband. Oh, you need more experience and all this kind of stuff. It's sad, but I'm so glad that we are past that and we have the rights to get out of sticky situations, all kinds of marriages or relationships and partnerships that are not for us. I'm glad we can make our own decisions and we have our own agency to to remove ourselves. And yeah, again, she's not someone on the front lines doing the fighting, but her name still deserves to be called because again, she went through the struggle. Okay, she has firsthand knowledge that women should have their own agency. So I salute Nina Yolande Du Bois Cullens Williams on this day. Right on, sister. Okay. Uh oh yeah, and I will be reading the book at Harlem Wedding. So yeah, I told you I was trying to get a free copy. I'm trying to get in a couple of giveaways. If not, I'll be buying the book because, like I said, I love Tiffany L. Williams writing. So yeah, this should be good. I already read a sample of the first chapter, so this should be good. So yeah, so yeah. Um, what do you think about this story? And oh yeah, cause I put on social media that ever since I heard this story, I'm like, Conti Cullens, he doesn't get enough smoke. Cause people always are like, that's what WEB do, and then how the husband, Mr. Cullens, was not right either. You knew, you didn't have to bother that, you didn't have to mess with that lady's, but probably through her father-in-law. I mean, your father-in-law, her father. You got to come up on some things. But okay, probably that the little fellowship you had or something. Not that you didn't, not that you didn't have the educational or intellectual earnings of it, but his name probably might have helped you. So men are gonna mean, aren't they? Okay. And then Mr. Williams, you didn't have to leave for football. You didn't have to bother that lady's life either. Okay. I'm off my rant, but yeah, we have talked about it. Okay. Other than that, talking to you in adult terms.